Hey guys, I'm Lindsay Czarniak, and this is Players, conversations with athletes, artists, entertainers about their interest in sports and vice versa, and a little bit of what they've learned along the way. So this is part 2 of the Nationals' journey to the World Series win, told through the eyes of star pitcher Max Scherzer and those close to him. As I was covering this team, covering this incredible story, as the team continued to fight adversity as well as really beat the odds, Scherzer kept referencing his wife Erica, and specifically Erica's vision. So in this episode, you're going to get a closer look at who Erica Scherzer really is and how she influenced the Nationals World Series win without anybody really knowing it. I talked to her the night the Washington Nationals won the World Series on the field after the game, and she shared some really valuable insight about how the wife's role is really just as vital as a position on the field.
I think it's easy for them to give up hope at times when things get frustrating and struggle, and we can see it from an outside point of view. And that's why I think I was telling you the other night, we have to be that support system, and we have to be the one that absorbs everything for them and just keeps them going and keeps them going. And one of our closest friends that is also baseball wife says you have to be their cheerleader. You have to be there for them and just keep them going and keep them going. And that's what we try to do.
Does that get hard?
I mean, it's hard, but that's what I'm here for. I love the heck out of him. I'm going to do anything for him.
Okay, so let me give you a little context here on Max and Erica, right? Max and Erica met their first week of college. It was Erica's freshman year at the University of Missouri. She was playing softball. It was one of her friends that introduced them. She told me that it was Max's smile that grabbed her attention right out of the gate. She also said it was because he was really romantic, which I thought was super sweet, but also really hard to imagine when you think about what this guy does on the mound when you're watching him pitch. What intrigued me most about the two of them as a couple is that both were athletes as well, right? And so from growing up to college to the pros, Erica told me that they both came close at various levels to winning a title, but it had just never happened. They also came close specifically when Max's Detroit Tigers lost the World Series in 2012 to the Giants. Neither, though, had ever won a championship. So this run, it meant something special to them, and their bond is something fierce. We begin where we left off. The morning of Game 5, the World Series, Max Scherzer, that night's starter, but he was in so much pain he could barely move. Erica, meanwhile, was already up taking care of her girls, and Max was about to change everything.
It was awful. I knew my neck. We'd done some treatment in Game 4, try to get ready for Game 5. To get ready and I went to bed tonight thinking I was all right. Let's hope that treatment works, and then wake up and hopefully I feel good and we just go. I remember waking up and I could just feel in my trap that it went backwards. That I can't even move my arm right now. I can't even turn my head. I'm hobbling to get upstairs and stuff. So I knew I was in a really bad spot. When you try to make a start, and it's Game 5 of the World Series. And I've done crazier things, and maybe there's a way to pitch through it. And as I continue to try to dress myself, I couldn't even dress myself. So it was just it was just a real bad spot of realizing that, man, there's just no way I'm going to be able to make it. Not with this type of pain. There's no way you can fight through this type of pain. I mean, I can't lift my arm. How am I going to throw a ball?
I'd already been up and with the girls and everything, and he walked down the stairs and just couldn't even move. All he could do was walk. He couldn't do anything else, and I could just see the look in his face. And so I drop everything and go to him, and it was just that feeling of knowing what is at stake, and this is bad. And so maybe it's the mom in me, but I just went into that that mom mode. That
you're going to be okay.
You're going to be okay. We're going to do this. We have to do this first. We're going to get you fed. We're going to get you showered. We're going to get you dressed. We're going to do this. Text this person. I've got this. I'll text these people so they don't bug you. It just went into that mode of here's what we have to do, and I'm taking over this. And it just, I don't know. It was awful.
Not a good moment, but then as I got closer to the park, like, it's time to let Joe Ross know he's going to start. So I sent him a text message out and like, hey, I know, like, guys kind of knew I was not in a good spot. And I was talking to Joe throughout the playoffs and just different things that he was working on, and he was staying ready this whole time to get a moment. I pitched in game 2, and he actually looked really good. Mm-hmm. And so, for me, I knew at that moment I was not better than Joe Ross. I saw what he had done. There was no way I could fight through this. That it's his turn to take the ball, and send him a text message to say, "Get ready. You're going to have it today."
Joe Ross told me when he got that text message from Max Scherzer, he was in shock.
I was in bed and it was probably noon. So that should tell you where I literally was at, waking up, thinking text from Max Scherzer at noon, what could this say? And then kind of blowing the lid off me right there. But I think it was, the week or 2 weeks really leading up as far as, mentally preparing. I think that was the biggest thing. But, kind of got a rush of excitement. My family was there. My parents were there. Wanting to obviously reach out and let them know, but then at the same time, knowing that, bigger things are at stake. I have things to take care of. Who knows if this is even solidified as far as if I'm going to start or not. So kind of got to bite my tongue and wait to see my parents after the game, which was, they had a pretty big smile on their face, I should say.
Meanwhile, the Nationals were getting ready to host a press conference, and the news they were going to drop would shock everyone.
If you all know Max, he pitched with a broken nose. He's been hurt before. He's gone through things. And when he comes in and says that he's hurt this bad, he's hurt. And I can tell you now that he's very upset. He wants to be out there with his teammates. But hopefully we can get him back here for either Game 6 or 7.
I'm as disappointed as I possibly can be to be on that pitch tonight. I mean, it's Game 5 of the World Series. I've pitched through so much crap in my career that, that would be easy to pitch through at this point. This is literally impossible to do anything with.
Got done at the Max Scherzer press conference, and it's not good news. Hey guys. So anyway, I'm about to show you a video of how many media people were there. He said he's never felt pain like this. Nobody knew what to think. There was a sense of complete shock inside that media room where 50 plus journalists were listening to this news, and I think everybody had some version of the same thought of, seriously? Like, is this really true? Did that really happen? And it seemed so surreal to me. I remember walking back from that media room, walking out onto the field, wondering, could that really possibly be? And before that, I had seen my former colleague at ESPN, Tim Kurkjian, who's covered Major League Baseball for 40 years. He is a legend in the sport. So I decided I had to go find Tim because I really wanted to get his thoughts. What is your take on what we saw happen tonight and what this does to impact the team?
Well, this just goes to show you how difficult it is to play Major League Baseball if you're injured, and he is really injured. Max Scherzer told us he's had that exact thing, and it takes a good 3 days to get that better. And he said in the meantime, you can't do anything. You can't shave, you can't move your head, nothing. All you want to do is just lie down and stay still. I think he's going to pitch Game 7 if there is a Game 7. Now, obviously a lot has to happen before then, and he's going to have to recover. But knowing Max Scherzer, if there's any chance he can pitch, he's going to pitch.
Max just said his wife had to help him get dressed this morning. He fell out of bed. He cannot lift his arm, and he's never felt pain this bad from the neck spasms. But there is a possibility they could be ready to pitch Game 7, possibly. He said the doctors say that they think possibly, but also he's got to fly to Houston and make that happen. So the things that I was most kind of interested in hearing and surprised was when he said that he's never dealt with pain like that, but also when he said that he mentioned the word like risky, and the pitching coach mentioned that they're not pitching him because this could be something that could be career ending if things go wrong, and had they tried to fight through it. Did you think he was going to be able to play?
I kept asking him, what did the doctors say? And he said they told him he would be ready in 48 hours, that he just needed the shot to kick in. And so I said, just trust the doctors, trust the process. And I mean, he seemed really bad. I'd never seen him in that much pain before. But at the same time,
I mean, a lot can happen in a short amount of time. And so I don't know if I would say I did think he was going to, but there was also a part of me that just thought it wasn't going to end that way, that there was more to it. And I'm like, if we can get through game 6, Strauss can do it, like, he's going to throw.
But based on what I had just heard with my own ears from Max himself and manager Davey Martinez inside that press conference, going from where we were before game 5 to even thinking about Max Scherzer being available to pitch again in this World Series and the Nationals still having a chance to win it all, that was such a tall order. Confidence in this team's chances really took a hit. But that's where the theme of Erica's confidence kept resonating for me, because Max kept saying that Erica was telling him for a while now, this is the team, this is the group of guys that is destined to win the World Series. It sounds like a movie script, but she felt it in the camaraderie all the way back from the summer. Even though the rest of Nationals fans, she was right there with them when that team was struggling at 19-31.
19-31 or whatever. Right. It was the calls to fire Davey, and then now look at him.
And at 19-31, by the way, what were you thinking?
I mean, if I'm being honest, I was like, not fire Davey, but I was thinking, well, we're not going to the playoffs. I mean, I hate to say it, but nobody was thinking we were at that time. And very few people were hanging in there, and that's probably credit to Davey to still keep that positivity in all of it. But it was a long shot. It was a really big long shot, but that's where his 1-0 really does. There's something to that. You just got to win one game and win another, and next thing you know, you take off. But I think there was just so much to it. It was a great group of guys. It was the dancing in the dugout. It was, the sunglasses. It was the baby shark. Like, it's just so many fun stories and such a great group that you can't put your finger on one thing. It just fit. It just worked. And I think people are going to try to analyze it for so long.
But you can't. But back to the issue at hand. Max Scherzer is out. Joe Ross getting the call. The Nationals in Washington lost game 5 that night.
I come inside of the clubhouse and I see Max on the couch, and no exaggeration, I think I'm standing maybe 3 feet to his right, and he is looking dead straight. And I couldn't tell, honestly, at first, like, is he awake? Is he, like, can he see me? Is he, his eyes were open, but, like, is he looking at me? Is he locked in on the screen? What's going on? He's telling me, he thought I pitched great. He's excited about, certain sequences and how I executed whatever pitch X, Y, and Z. But the whole time I'm off to his right, and he's staring straight. So this kind of gives me a real firsthand, I guess, impression on, like, how bad his neck was at the time.
What were you thinking at that moment, that night, after you guys got that loss? Where was your mindset?
We still had a path here. One, my neck, the cortisone shots, trying to make those work. Well,
Does it really take it away? Or
yeah. Because what happened was, through the treatment, my nerve got pinched, and the muscle was in spasm, and what was even worse was the nerve in my neck was actually pinched up too, and so it was a double whammy effect. And so, if you alleviated the nerve, then you could release the spasm, and so that's where all treatment options are on the table at this point. So throw as much cortisone in my neck as you want.
And then what? You're just like walking around
that took about 24. After the next day, I realized, okay, I've had cortisone shots in the past, and I know they work, and I know it's usually that 48-hour, 72-hour window, that 3-day. Like, usually you feel pretty darn good in that time frame.
And then what was that process like of Max getting himself right? Like, what was that like for you guys? And
just lots of treatment, lots of sleep, lots of, just us, me and family and everything, just trying to take care of everything here so that all he had to worry about was resting and taking care of himself. And
dude, isn't that hard for you? Like, when you've got, like, you're stressed and you want something to work, but you've got your whole family. I mean, like, that stresses,
Yeah.
That's
it definitely
commendable and fascinating.
I'm sure a lot of the other women would probably feel the same or say the same. Like, we definitely during the playoffs take on a lot so that the guys don't have to. So all they have to do is worry about what they're doing on the field. Once it was all said and done, and The partying was done. Definitely kind of hit my breaking point of like, I can't take on anymore. Like I've just absorbed so much. I need a break too, but it's all worth it.
But the question was, in the minds of Nationals fans, is it going to be worth it? Because all they knew is now the Nationals were in a scenario where they had to win 2 on the road in Houston, which meant every team in this World Series would have to win on the road, and that had never happened.
What I can tell you is at this point, you should probably be down, like, okay, they just lost 3 in a row. But I do think there is something to the inexperience that the team has in the World Series. And if there is a team that can come together and sort of rediscover that mojo, I know it sounds crazy. You might think I'm nuts, but I think that this team could actually do it. My question mark is Max Scherzer. If he might pitch Game 7, if he's healthy enough, that could be a game changer. They've got to make it to Game 7 first, which is going to be difficult. But I don't know. There's something about this team. And I think it's one of those groups that transcends X's and O's. There was a lot of talk today about the guys still having swagger, about how badly they felt that they couldn't get a win for this fan base at home. But at the end of the day, not one of them talked negatively in the clubhouse after losing 3 in a row. And there's definitely something to be said for that.
This is where we leave you. The next episode will pick up here. I can't wait to share it with you. There's so much insight, and the stories behind the scenes are where I think all the fun really is. All right, thank you so much for listening to this episode of my podcast. Thank you also to Ray, affectionately known as Ray Scrambles, editor and musician extraordinaire. But thank you. And if you like this episode, please tell your friends. Better yet, tell like 500 of your friends, and you can get the next episode anywhere you listen to your podcast. Thanks for listening right now to Players, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.